the supernatural is something that isn't supposed to happen, but it does happen.
Those strange beings who landed in the Jersey farmlands tonight are the vanguard of an invading army from the planet Mars.
Well, Terry, authorities tell us that the most serious or perhaps the most dangerous kind of devil worship comes in the form of underground cults.
Is it merely a passing fad, or is there a demonic continuity in the history of man?
We want to warn you now that some things you're about to see and hear might be too graphic for children.
All right, truth seekers, it is another exciting episode of Words About Occult Books. I'm joined not by my co-host Nate, but by my co-host Shai, who is both my partner in life and now partner in podcasting.
Welcome.
So Shai, you've had all your malfunctioning organs removed.
For now, yes.
You're ready to proceed. You're a certified improv superstar.
Yes.
All right. It's been a big month for you. A lot of milestones.
A lot of gallstones.
A lot of gallstones. So last time we talked about the first, I want to say 3 or 4 chapters of The History of Spiritualism by Arthur Conan Doyle. We're going to talk a little bit more about some of, I think, like the highlights of volume 1 of The History of Spiritualism on this episode. And then I think there will be one more episode where we talk about some of the highlights of volume 2. I have to tell you, I'm going to be skipping around. There are a lot of chapters that focus in on the work of specific mediums and specific psychical researchers.
Okay. What does that even mean?
Okay, he structures a chapter in the following way. There is a particular medium. This is how they discovered their powers. This is what they started doing with their powers. This is who tested them or sat with them. This is who made them famous. And ultimately, then this is who accused them of faking it. And this is why that doesn't add up or make sense. They couldn't possibly have faked it. Then they get caught faking it. And then it doesn't matter because they didn't fake it all the time. They just faked it that one time. And then they'll admit to faking it. And it doesn't matter because they were coerced into confessing either by like their financial situation or they're unreliable people. But definitely some of what they did was real. And it'll go on and on and on like that. I'm going to address some specific examples from some specific mediums that I think represent a decent chunk of the movement. But basically you have to understand like what each of these mediums do. The different kinds of mediumship they engage in was being done a little bit by everyone in the movement.
I have to stop you for a second there because there's something going on behind your head that listeners won't be privy to because they're not going to see you on camera.
True.
But the one of the pull cords for the blinds is caught in the breeze of the air conditioner. Mm-hmm. And if this were any other show, somebody would say, "Oh, that's a ghost." And it's like, no, the AC just kicked on. I feel it too.
Yeah, it is. Well, it could be. I mean, maybe I'm channeling. Maybe we'll get some EVPs on this recording that I won't hear until we play it back. Maybe a ghost will come through on the mic. We'll see.
I'm just going to start opening doors, and there's going to be surprises behind those doors.
But I know you're all excited to get to the Hydesville Incident. The thing that changed everything.
I've heard of the Hydesville Incident.
Yes, you have, because he kept referencing it. This is when Doyle argues spiritualism truly begins. This is the high holy day of their movement, when the modern seance was invented.
Oh, great. So nothing spiritualistic existed before this very moment in history.
Well, no, actually, the 3 chapters of stuff we covered last episode did exist before this moment in history, all of it. And then every religion ever. And also he'll talk later in the book about how a bunch of stuff in the Bible was also spiritualist. But what he does, what the spiritualist church does, what the Society for Psychical Research studies, that phenomenon, specifically around the seance and a medium, that starts today.
Oh, that's less exciting.
You're not dealing with your average spiritual prophet here.
Oh?
You're dealing with a psychic medium, which is like a spiritual prophet, but worse. But also cheaper and more common. So you kind of gotta pick your battles here. So we begin our story in a place of great spiritual significance, culture, and learning. Upstate New York, Rochester in specific. If you've ever known anyone from Rochester, you will know because they will tell you they're from Rochester. It is a strange place. I have been there. It is the birthplace of spiritualism, and there are still spiritualist organizations based out of there to this day.
I feel like when I was really into true crime, like, not that I'm not still into true crime, I'm just not as into it as I used to be. I feel like a lot of things happen in Rochester.
It punches above its weight in terms of metro areas, I guess. It's really not that big a town, but
it sounds like it though.
I don't know. A lot of weird stuff goes on in Rochester. And of course, we are dealing with the Fox family.
Like of Fox News fame, or like of...
Well, that would be the Murdoch family.
Oh, no. Okay.
No, these are humble peasant folk. I believe Doyle calls them, hang on, let me check my notes, unread farmers.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, so that's how you know they couldn't make it up. Because you gotta be a learned man, classically trained in both the Greek and the Latin, to be able to get one over on old Arthur Conan Doyle. They've been living in the particular house they're living in for about a year, so they're relatively new to it. Apparently has a bit of a reputation in the community for being a haunted house, though very difficult to determine if it had this reputation before or after it got famous. And we're dealing with a family, John, the father, Margaret, the mother.
The Holy Ghost. Oh, sorry.
Margaret, the mother. There are several adult children not living in the home, but the only one of those you need to pay attention to is going to be Leia, who is age 35.
Their princess. She's so sweet. What?
Yep. She's age 35 right now.
Oh, okay.
And then there is, and this is a confusing one, Margareta, possibly? Doyle refers to her as Margaret. I've seen other sources refer to her as Margareta. She seems to go by Maggie. We're going to call her Maggie for the purposes of this episode to distinguish her from the mother.
Okay.
So Maggie Fox is 14 years old at this time, living in the home. Mm-hmm. Then we also have Catherine Fox, who is going to go by Kate. Mm-hmm. She is 11 years old at the time.
Okay.
So the family moves into the house in 1847. In 1848, on what was the date he kept talking about? March something?
Oh, like March 3rd. I don't know.
It's a very important date. We all get it off work. It changed everything forever. March 31st, 1948, or 1848. March 31st, 1848 is when everything changed forever. So it's a, imagine it's a cool spring evening. And all of a sudden the family begins hearing knocking sounds.
Oh my God, what was that?
Yeah, no. It's probably a ghost.
Every single time I come to Virginia City, I get really, really involved with prostitutes.
And the knocking sounds are getting louder. Sometimes it sounds like somebody is just moving furniture. They search the house, the mother and father, top to bottom. They cannot find a source of these knocks. At one point, they stand on either side of a door that is closed. And the door vibrates with the knocks. And they're on both sides of it. No one could be knocking on this door.
Mm-hmm.
And it is, quote, all methods of determining the source of the knocking was tried, but no solution could be found. And on the night of March 31st, after we've had a few days of these knockings, the spiritualist revelation commences. Young Kate Fox challenges the unseen power to repeat her pattern. She goes, knock, 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 knock. And in response, the spirit goes, knock, 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 knock. And now we know that we're dealing with an intelligent response, as Zach Baggins would put it. And people begin asking the spirit questions. They like once for yes, twice for no. They start asking yes or no questions. And Mrs. Fox starts asking it questions. And it seems to know the answers. And in fact, this is Doyle's words. The mother asked a series of questions, the answers to which, given in numerals, showed a greater knowledge of her own affairs than she herself possessed. For the raps insisted that she had 7 children, whereas she protested that she had borne only 6. Until she suddenly remembered. She actually had another one who died.
Oh, that's normal.
That's a weird thing to say. He doesn't go into the circumstances. I don't know if it was like a miscarriage and she just wasn't thinking about that one, or if it was
and
something.
Like how would you forget about that?
I don't know. But I guess one might assume that
after that many kids, you just can't help but forget the one that didn't make it. Like, what?
Well, and Doyle will try to present this as like, who could have known about this mysterious 7th child? And it's like, well, everyone. It was probably
doctor that was probably
everyone in the family. It was a hugely traumatic event.
Yeah.
And people didn't go to the hospital to give birth back then. She was, they would have known at home what had happened. So
they would have had to call a doctor or two, and like,
so everybody's like, shit, this ghost knows some stuff. So they go to get their neighbors. Guys, you got to come see this. There's a ghost that knows how many kids I have. And the neighbors come over. They start investigating. And very quickly, the knocks start to be pretty interesting. Now, Arthur Conan Doyle, the way he tells his stories is a little out of order. He's not writing this book for us in the future to understand the history of spiritualism. He's writing this book for other people in his time to read and use as a defense against criticism of spiritualism. He constantly assumes that you have heard spiritualism discredited. He's very, very defensive about spiritualism. And he will constantly interrupt the history to reference material that will come later. So, spoilers, the Fox sisters are legendary mediums. They basically invented the modern seance. They defined the form spiritualism would take, I would say, up until the present day. You still have people like Jason Hawes's daughter, Satori, doing a little knocking act with her husband, boyfriend. I don't know what he is to her.
Yeah, whatever.
But yeah, so it kind of determines that give us a sign style modern mediumship. And they are pretty famously discredited. This is a huge blow to the spiritualist movement. The Fox sisters were the face of it. When they spectacularly get discredited, one of them admits to faking everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a blow the spiritualist movement never really comes back from. So Doyle assumes you know that. And he's going to interrupt the story constantly to tell you why this is real. Yeah, there may have been some fakery later on, but this is real. So the neighbors come flocking in, and this is according to Doyle. The two children and the mother are removed from the household to spend the night at a neighbor's. And in their absence, the phenomena went on exactly the same as before. And then he goes on to describe a conversation that is held with the ghost via the knocking. That would suggest to the reader that this conversation with the ghost and the responsive knocks happened while the Fox sisters and their mother were at the neighbor's house. Correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That is not the case. So,
okay.
After this event, there's going to be a pamphlet of published, signed testimonies from all the various witnesses. Doyle is going to quote mostly verbatim from that pamphlet, but he does not have the original pamphlet. He has instead what he calls a facsimile. I don't know what he means by that. I don't know what a facsimile of the pamphlet is, because I will tell you what he quotes is almost the exact text of the pamphlet. And spoilers, I have seen the pamphlet because you can find it at the University of Rochester Library website. You could find a scan of it. And I read it. And the account is almost exactly what he quotes, except for this little bit about the timeline with the mom and the daughters.
Oh, okay.
So what actually happens is that the daughters and the mother, because the mother includes in her testimony in the original pamphlet that she was present for the interview with the ghost. Therefore, the sisters were also present for the interview with the ghost. The activity that happens afterward that they were not present for, somebody does testify that like some jars rattled on the shelf when they weren't there. But I don't think anybody was talking. They don't testify specifically that they spoke to the ghost through the knocking while the Fox sisters weren't there. But Doyle wants to say that because the knocking continued in their absence, then that should put to rest all the claims of toe popping and knee joint screwery. All that is bunko because they weren't even there, but they were.
So was this house attached to another house by any means at all? Were there anybody else that could have been just wandering around the house?
So at the time the knocks were initially reported, It was just the 4 family members. Then neighbors came in, and it is unclear how many people stayed in the house then, listening to these knocks.
Okay, that's all.
Yeah. So when the jars were reported to rattle, when the activity took place, when the Fox sisters were not there, it was at least the father and another neighbor. I know at least those 2 men were there. There might have been more.
Mm-hmm.
So they interview the ghost, and the ghost tells them a little bit of a story. Of course, they want to know who he is, where he came from. One of the ingenious, what does he call it? In shrewd Yankee fashion,
What?
they spent the rest of the night playing question and answer with the unseen intelligence. Somebody came up with, it was a neighbor named Doyle, who first of all modern men called over the alphabet and got answers by raps on the letters. This is exactly what Cody and Satori do, by the way.
Yep.
Through this, the spirit tells them that he was a man. He was Charles B. Rosma. And at the age of 31, he was murdered in this house 5 years ago. He was murdered by the former occupant of the house, quote, for money. He was buried 10 feet below the cellar.
For money.
The knocks led them to the very place where he was buried.
Well, but why would you want to dig 10 feet into your own cellar? Wouldn't that, like, compromise the foundation of your house? Even then, when they didn't have, like, concrete foundation?
Well, this is definitely a dirt floor, so that's the first thing. But also, it is very difficult to dig 10 feet by hand. That is a pretty labor-intensive job. And naturally, you might be asking yourself, well, surely, if they led him right to the body, then this has got to be some really compelling evidence, right? There's a ghost that's telling you where a body's buried.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're probably assuming that we found a body.
No, they told you it's 10 feet under the house.
Well, naturally, we got to dig.
Yeah, and I think that's a really stupid idea to listen to a ghost telling you to dig 10 feet into the,
Well, they do.
Let's say it is a ghost that's talking to them. Why in the world would you take the advice of that ghost? What if that ghost is trying to kill you and turn you into more ghosts so it's not lonely anymore?
Okay, so Shai, you're raising excellent points that are going to come up over and over again. And whenever a medium is incorrect and Doyle does not want to give credence to the fakery allegations, spirits lie, spirits screw with you. Sometimes spirits are just wrong. But if that's the case, then it would lead you to question, well, should I really take the advice? I don't know who's on the other end of this call, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You say you're my grandma, but what if you're Pazuzu, And Doyle says you can gauge that and know when you should follow the advice with a simple gut check. Does it feel like grandma? It's probably grandma.
That's terrible advice.
Yeah. I mean, see, you're coming at this with the wrong energy. See, that's the kind of energy that's going to attract demons.
Oh, well.
You need to come at this with a more positive vibe, okay?
But it doesn't...
Positivity attracts positivity. Negativity attacks negativity.
I am positively confused.
Well, that pretty much sums up the spiritualist movement. So they dig several feet, and they hit water, It has rained fairly recently. The water table is a little high. So the digging has to wait for the groundwater to dry out a little bit. But when it eventually resumes, Doyle says that they find a plank of wood and bits of bone that are human in nature.
Oh, you don't say.
I did a little looking, and I could not find anything about this first discovery. So basically in the newspapers and everything else, I don't hear anything about human bones. I don't hear anything about an initial discovery. Mm-hmm. It really seems, and it's interesting, by the way, Doyle even talks about it, is it really seems like most people treat this as a they didn't find anything sort of deal.
Yeah.
And a lot of people disparage it. So, for example, the guy who lived in the house 5 years before, he's never really, never, spoilers, ever charged with murder. And they cannot find anyone ever who has been named Charles B. Rosma, living or dead. There is no record of this man. But you got to keep in mind, Shai.
Okay.
They didn't know much about spiritualism yet. And it's really hard to get names across.
So how hard are names to get across? Like Charles B. Rosma is kind of like highly specific. What are we like?
Yeah. Well, when you try to get a name across, that's real specific. And, basically, he doesn't know why. More research needs to be done. This is something we definitely want to look into in the spiritualist movement. But for some reason, when a spirit tries to get their name across, when a spirit tries to communicate, hey, this is... I just want you to know it's... My name is... It never quite comes across.
So then how are you getting names at all?
Well... Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. More research needed. But if you hear a medium asking you, like, is there anyone here who has a loved one whose name starts with a B?
Yeah, I hate that.
Yeah, that's how you, but that's because it's really hard to get names across. They're just getting
bitch. Go fuck yourself.
Sorry. But, so that's what they're getting. They're getting a B. Because names are hard. And they don't know why. More research is needed. But if they had known that, then they would have known not to put too much stock in the fact that the guy who claimed to be the murder victim doesn't exist. It was not until 56 years later that a further discovery was made which proved beyond all doubt that someone really had been buried in the fox cellar. The discovery was made by school children playing in the cellar of the building in Hydesville, known as the Spook House, where the Fox sisters heard the wonderful rappings. William H. Hyde, a reputable citizen who owns the house, made an investigation and found almost an entire human skeleton between the earth and crumbling cellar walls, undoubtedly that of the wandering peddler who it was claimed was murdered in the East Room. You might be wondering, how did he become a wandering peddler? In the intervening 22 years, and again, this comes later in the Doyle text, they did more seances and made up a whole story about him being a wandering peddler, and he came to this house, and they killed him and took his stuff.
Okay.
So, beyond all doubt, right? You might be wondering, as I was, well, gee, if there was a body found in this house, why do I not hear about that all the time? You know, why aren't there documentary after documentary on all these ghost shows telling us about why about how they found this body. This ghost led them to this body, and why wasn't anybody charged and any of that stuff. Well, so Doyle's almost complete human skeleton. If you look at the newspapers of the time, I found two different accounts. Both accounts mention that there was not, in fact, an almost complete human skeleton, but rather a random collection of bones, some of which belonged to a chicken.
Okay.
Another account says that there were bones from 3 arms.
Okay. That's fine.
And even if there was an almost complete human skeleton, it still could have been planted.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
So Doyle will say this a lot. He's like, this proves beyond all doubt, or that the only way anybody could deny this is if they're calling everybody involved a liar.
That's not outside the realm of possibilities.
What's more likely, that 6 men of good breeding and reputation lied, or were tricked, or there's ghosts?
I'm going to go with the former.
Well, that's the kind of vibes that's going to keep you from ever seeing a ghost, Shy.
Okay.
You're coming into this with the wrong attitude. You're not being very sympathetic.
I carry little sympathy for men of good breeding and blah, blah, blah.
Well, what about dumb shit farmers?
Why would you be... I was about to say, why would you be farming shit? And then I realized fertilizer is a good market.
Well, so the sisters, they give a bunch of readings. There's basically a spiritual renaissance in Rochester after this. This becomes big news. People come from all around. The sisters eventually have to be sent away from the house. It's got too much attention now.
Yeah, okay.
One of them goes to stay with an adult brother. The other goes to stay with the adult sister, Leia. And a rash of other mediums spring up. And what would be your theory for why a rash of mediums might spring up? I don't want to poison the well here.
I mean, obviously, it's the easy mark. If you can figure out how the kids did it, then why can't I also make a big hubbub over this? If not for money, at least for fame and notoriety in my small town of Rochester, New York.
So you're thinking that these would just be copycats?
Yes.
And would that belief be reinforced if you knew that many of them gave provably wrong readings?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Okay, well, you're wrong.
Okay.
Because, again, they didn't know as much about spiritualism as we know now. And those mediums who had been awakened by the Rochester experience, it was obviously some divine experience that awakened the power in the latent psychics of Rochester. But they didn't know that spirits can be malicious and sometimes just confused. And so they trusted the readings too much. It's not a copycat thing. It's not fake.
I live in farm country, but I don't think it's cow pie season yet. So why do I smell it?
Well, the Fox sisters, they can't be stopped. There was a point, I think, at which they tried to stop communicating with the spirits in this house, these children. They announced that the spirits had communicated their message and they were leaving now, never to return. But then a few weeks later, one of them caved in and started giving readings again.
Okay.
So, like I said, one goes to an adult brother, one goes to Leia. Leia also develops the gift. And that is how we get the 3 Fox sisters, who would go on to become the famous trio.
The famous Fox sisters.
They start doing seances. They become mini celebrities. And, this is where Doyle says the movement was in its infancy. We didn't know the dangers of mediumship at this point. We didn't know the dangers of celebrity. We didn't know the dangers of vibes, I guess. So the Fox sisters, they're kind of just doing this as like an act. I don't want to compare it to a magic show because obviously it's not in any way similar to a magic show. And to suggest that would be very ignorant and bad vibes. But
okay, correct. Yeah, sure.
They start doing readings for a bunch of people who are like, "Hey, where did my dad bury the gold?"
In your butt.
And all that stuff. And by giving readings to these people of low character and low morals, they're really setting themselves up for the corruption that's going to eventually lead to their undoing. So during these years of public mediumship, when the gifts, during these years of public mediumship, when the girls were all the rage amongst those who had no conception of the religious significance of this new revelation, and who concerned themselves with it purely in the hope of worldly advantage, the sisters exposed themselves to the enervating influences of promiscuous seances in a way in which no earnest spiritualist could justify. People are asking them, like, which way is the stock market going to go? Does he really love me? And all that sort of thing. So we'll also find out that the Fox family has a tendency towards alcoholism.
Oh, that's fun.
And that the Fox girls are, hanging out with all kinds of shady people, doing all kinds of shady work. And they're being offered wine, right and left, well below the age they should be drinking wine. And even a bit of a patron discovers the girls, a Miss Harding Britton. She hears them, basically just like hour after hour going A, B, C, D. Oh, there's one. It's D. A, B, C, D, E. Oh, it's an E. And
named Derek. Yes. All right. Cool. On to the next.
Yep. So they're going through this, and it's just becoming hell. But they're making a lot of money. They're the big celebrities, and so they just got to keep doing it. Doyle is already apologizing for what's going to happen. He's already saying, like, problems with alcohol, problems with money, problems with influence. Eventually, Maggie is going to come to fall in love with a guy named Elisha Kane, and this is such a early turn of the century love story. The great Arctic explorer Elisha Kane.
Who?
Yeah, well, he dies young, so this doesn't last very long. But Elisha, he thinks this is bullshit, and he's like, Maggie, you got to stop tricking people. In all the letters he writes her, he's like, you got to stop tricking people. And
stop being a tricky person.
And Doyle's like, well, why would he marry her if he was so convinced she was tricking people?
Because of that money, honey.
He had more money than her, actually.
Oh, well, still.
He didn't need her money. I think my conclusion was that, I don't think he cared that much about the people she was tricking.
Just the fact that she was tricking them.
But yeah, well, I don't think he. I think he thought it was beneath the wife of Elisha Kane to be a carnival sideshow thing.
Well, why did you marry Sideshow Bob if you don't want to be with Sideshow Bob?
Well, he's trying to convince her to quit before they get married.
Oh, well, you made it sound like they were already married.
Well, they get married, and Maggie goes through a period of oh, are my powers actually like the devil? And that becomes a big issue for her. And Doyle's trying to say that, like, you know, did she admit in these letters that she was a fake? Did she admit to Elijah Kane that she was a fake? And you can't, at no point does she come out and say, yes, Elijah, I'm faking, but I just like it so much. She doesn't come right out and say that, but she does sort of like waffle a little bit, like, you know, like, no, I got to keep doing it, blah, blah, blah. And, yeah, they'll go back and forth. So the Fox sisters, they do a lot. They've got knockings, rappings, a lot of this physical stuff. Sometimes they'll be described as having a childlike simplicity about them, that they're just so dumb, especially Kate. But then sometimes people will describe them as being smart. There's another thing Doyle finds very compelling that I'm not at all interested in, which is when a medium suddenly starts speaking a language that they're not supposed to speak.
Like what?
French.
I mean,
Arabic.
I feel like... okay. Yeah. The dumb hick rednecks. Okay, got it.
yeah, and that's kind of it. Like, they're not supposed to. So this is the other thing Doyle never like really mentions. It's like, very rarely does someone show up to one of these sittings and they didn't know who was going to be showing up. Like, they don't just take random guests. You got to schedule these things, right?
Oh,
so they know who's coming. They know what languages they speak. They know a little bit about who these people are. And is it possible that Kate Fox could speak French? And she just saved that one for the seances. You didn't know that.
Oh, there's not a chance in the world. She's just a dumb hick.
Yeah, she's just an unread farmer. All the while, Doyle is going to grow increasingly frustrated with the scientific community for not wanting to engage with this. He says there's either a lack of interest or outright derision from the scientific community, and that pisses him off quite a lot. But basically, and Doyle quotes this thinking it proves his point. Is there anything in reality we, as lawyers would say, could go to a jury with? Well, on one hand, we have abundance of alleged experience, which can hardly be called evidence, and a few depositions of a more notable and impressive character. On the other hand, we have many accounts of convicted imposters and many authentic reports of precisely such disappointments or discoveries as we should be led to expect. So pretty much what the scientific community is saying to the spiritualist movement is, you having a mystical experience does not constitute scientific proof.
Yeah, I can have a mystical experience on like 2 tabs of acid and like a 4 Loko. Doesn't mean anything.
And so I actually talked to Amanda about this. I asked because she does actual psychology science, and I said, "Is there anything a scientist could do with this? Like, if you have these seances where people need to have positive energy, like they need to be positively disposed towards the experience, the observer can't like participate and be skeptical, or that'll ruin the vibes and the spirits won't come." I was like, can science even conduct a study? And I was a little surprised when she said, yeah, they could do something with that. And she said, like, what she would do is you would find people in a survey who are believers. You would get them to do a seance. You would, before the seance, you would show them material that is likely to induce further belief. Like, you want to show them like testimonies and stuff of people saying like how effective the medium is and all this stuff, like really predispose them to have the good experience.
Okay.
And then do the seance, come out, interview them individually, and compare experiences. Search for gaps. and then do the same thing, medium's a fake.
I mean, okay.
Like do the same thing with just some random guy. See if people still have the mystical experiences.
Give the guy 2 times acid.
Yeah, basically. It's like we can gauge like at least to some extent how reliable is the testimony. Like we can scientifically gauge that. We can't really prove if you're having a mystical experience or not, but we can prove that the conditions you believe are necessary for you to have a mystical experience are not. You could have the same thing on 2 tabs of acid, or there could be ghosts, or it could just be you're imagining it. So basically, what my thing with Doyle here is, I think the scientists are just sort of politely telling you, like, this isn't the business of science. What you're talking about, like, you believe in you spoke to your dead wife. We're never going to be able to prove that.
Yeah.
Like,
especially when they're like, oh, but we had a safe word or a password that they would say after, we summoned them from the grave. Like,
well, that was Houdini's thing, and they never succeeded. Nobody ever guessed the word.
It was rutabaga.
It was. They did say eventually what it was, but there's going to be all these other experiences with the Fox sisters where, like, they'll do seances where people on either side of the medium will hold her hands and things still happen, like tables lift or a ghostly hand descends from the ceiling and begins writing. And this is the sort of stuff Houdini steps in and starts debunking. He's like, let me show you how I would do that. And Doyle would just
magnets and a lot of weighted shoes.
Yeah. So Doyle would just go on and on about how, like, this is what people saw. This is why it would be so hard to trick them. And all these people, he's really big on, like, important men of good character and reputation saw this stuff and signed off that it was real. And people in Doyle's time will point off and say that, like, okay, the professor of mathematics at Oxford University is not particularly well equipped to discern magic tricks.
Okay.
It doesn't really matter that he found it. And then Doyle will find you a magician who is also convinced. And he will neglect to tell you all the other magicians who were not convinced.
Yeah, he'll find the worst magician in the area.
A prominent spiritualist banker pays for Kate Fox to come visit England. And this is where we finally get some proper spiritualism. She's coming over to England to do missionary work. I do want to point out that later in the book, when the church starts getting mad about this, Doyle will say that spiritualism is not here to replace religion. We're just doing missionary work. We're just telling you about life after death.
But isn't that what?
No, it's different. So eventually Maggie's going to join Kate in England. While they're in England, the problems with alcohol will grow. They will both eventually marry. Kate has children. There is a big fight with Leia over Kate's alcoholism, we think. Okay. It is, I believe the idea is floated that maybe Kate shouldn't have custody of her kids anymore. Okay. And
what do the spirits have to say about that?
So, or maybe it's Maggie's kids. I forget whose kids, but one of them.
Either way, the spirits aren't coming to their character witness statements.
Yeah. So this is where, like, Maggie is the one who gets mad at Leia, and she leaves. She goes back to the U.S. And this is where Doyle says she's bitter.
Uh,
Her mediumistic powers may have been deserting her a little. And she decides to do what's going to hurt Leia the most. She's going to make a false confession.
Egad.
So somebody promises her a good chunk of change if she will show them how she does it. Show us how you make the Nox and everything. And she does. She agrees to it. She puts on a public display of exactly how she made the Nox. And this is, Doyle paints an interesting picture of this in his book. He does not say, well, actually, he says specifically that what she demonstrates is that she can make a knock happen wherever she wants it. Like she can point to somewhere in the room and be like, bam, knock, and there's a knock.
Mm-hmm.
But Doyle will say she doesn't ever tell you how she did it. And so Doyle says, hey, all we proved here is that she can control the Nox. Doesn't prove it's not psychic powers.
I feel like having the ability to throw sound has been something people have been aware of for a long enough time.
Well, Doyle likes to creatively quote newspapers from the time. You could go and find newspapers from the time. She 100% did demonstrate exactly how she does the Nox. She put her stockinged foot on the table and started cracking toes and joints. And she explained that she could kind of, throw the sound a little bit, but also people would often like imagine it for themselves. She didn't really need to do that much. Like power of suggestion was enough.
Yeah.
People would feel a hand brush their shoulder when she didn't do anything. And yeah, she puts on the whole act, and he dismisses this as a confession for money, and just to hurt the people who had wronged her. And that, now given what we know about psychics and ectoplasm, yeah, she can control the Nox, but that doesn't mean she's not a psychic. That just means she's using her ectoplasmic powers, or the spirits are using the ectoplasmic powers, and they're creating the Nox. She does eventually recant her confession. She recants by saying,
the spirits made me do it.
No, she recants saying, I was led astray by marketing people. And
the dang paparazzi got me again.
Here's what happened. She did not get the full money the guy stiffed her.
Oh.
Yeah, so he gave her a little bit up front. She did the thing, and then he didn't pay her. So she recanted and decided she could make more money as a spiritualist. Now, she embarks on a world tour where she's going to give lectures. She's not doing medium stuff anymore. She's not doing seances. She's going to give lectures on spiritualism.
Okay.
Since she's just given lectures on spiritualism, is she going to be charging for that?
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, she's got to support herself.
This isn't out of the goodness of her heart.
Out of
the need of her dang.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, she puts a letter out to the public, saying, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to set back the whole spiritualist cause. Please attend my lectures. But this stain, it never really goes away from spiritualism. And as you might know, it continues on to this very day. You might think this is a stupid 1920s thing, but obviously we've got the whole Cody and Satori doing the exact same thing. People think he's popping his toe.
You have Zach Baggins doing what Zach Baggins does.
So I think what I've found in a lot of these with these mediums, going along with my theory of like ghost hunters being the new seance, I think in an age of cameras, a lot of this seance stuff isn't going to work. I think I know where I want to skip to, because I just want to give a picture of what's going on at these seances. So in volume 2, we're going to get into a little bit more of the like methodology and beliefs of spiritualism. Like there's direct voice, direct writing, manifestation. There's all these forms of mediumship can take. And like direct voice is you hear the voice of the ghost. Direct writing is the ghost takes control of a hand and writes its message. But there's also the knocking, the rapping, all that junk. There's also a lot of like tricks. And I don't know how else to describe them other than tricks. But one wonders what the ghost is trying to do here. Like, why do you make a table levitate? Why do you move things across the room?
Why does a potato potate? These are the great questions of our time, Ben.
They are, but I guess I'm just wondering, like, if the ghosts are here to tell us higher truths about life after death and the universe, it's like, how does making my table lift 6 inches off the ground do that? It seems more like the kind of thing one would do to trick or to like unnerve somebody than it does serve any purpose for the ghost.
Maybe unnerving the person is what gets them jazzed and energized.
It's quite possible. So I want to tell you a little bit about the researches of the unfortunately named William Crookes.
Oh.
So Professor Crookes, he is a scientist. He is going to study mediumship and spiritualism because you know what? He's looked into this. He doesn't necessarily believe in it, but he thinks that science should at least take a look. You know, a lot of people believe in this, and a lot of people claim they're seeing something here, that there's some new dimension to the natural world that we might not have been aware of previously. We should at least take a look. And I kind of admire that. Unfortunately, I think he may be the most gullible man in the world. So, also confusingly, Professor Crookes finds a medium, a young girl who is kind of, I think, on the streets. But his wife takes her in, and her name, Florence
also Kate Fox.
Cook.
Oh.
Florence Cook is the medium for William Crookes.
And it's ironic which one is the actual crook.
Well, Miss Cook is going to cook up some interesting stuff. Miss Cook is a manifestation medium. She's not the first manifestation medium ever, but I'm just curious. Have you ever heard of manifestation? In relation to mediumship?
Yes, I have.
Okay. So
they manifest so they can attach to you. I learned that from Zach Baggins.
Oh, no. This is far dumber.
Oh, whoa, it's worse.
So manifestation almost always involves a cabinet. The cabinet is not necessarily a literal cabinet, but it is an enclosed space where the medium can seal themselves in and not be seen, basically. For whatever reason, it can't be made of glass. Nobody mentions that. Nobody ever mentions making it out of glass. But the theory of why a cabinet is needed is because the enclosed space allows for the concentration of ectoplasm, which is going to be needed here in a minute. You're going to see why. So the medium goes in to the cabinet and they start gathering their chi or whatever they do. And out of the cabinet then comes a wholly different person. The spirit has manifested a body of ectoplasm.
Okay.
And it can now walk amongst us. And in fact, I know what you may be thinking.
Why not put the child in a cage?
I'm going to get to that. This is, you did hear me ranting about people should be put in cages. And I promise I have good reason.
It's not as problematic as it sounds, but it's not weird.
It's only problematic if you're lying to me. It's also not as problematic as my first thought. But so Doyle knows what you might be thinking. Medium goes into the cabinet, another person comes out. Well, it's the same person wearing a wig. No, it's not.
Oh.
I've seen them both at the same time.
What?
Yeah, so a person walks out. I've seen the medium still in the cabinet. I've seen multiple people walk out of a cabinet.
That's weird.
Yeah, it's weird. So that conclusively proves it's not the same person. And I know you're probably not convinced, so we're going to do some more tests. So the person that walks out of the cabinet is, she calls herself Katie King. She is the daughter of the other King we talked about, who is Captain Morgan.
Oh, right.
And she's Katie King. She's here to tell you about the other side. What do you want to know? And Crooks is like, wow, this is incredible. People are really going to wonder if you're the same person. So I'm going to do some tests, if that's okay with you. He takes pictures of Katie King. She's different height. She looks different. He takes a hair sample. She's got different color hair. It's not dyed. He takes her pulse. She has a pulse.
She has a pulse.
The ectoplasm created a beating heart. And
the ectoplasm created a complex nervous system for this person?
Yes. So she has a different, because I know what you're wondering. You're wondering if they're the same person. And let me tell you, her resting heart rate is different.
No, I'm not wondering if they're the same person. I'm wondering why this little girl has another little girl trapped in a closet.
No, you're wondering if they're the same person. And I am not done telling you that they're not the same person. They also have different breathing patterns, because I actually noticed that when Miss Cook went into the cabinet, she had a little bit of a chest cold. I listened to her lungs with my stethoscope. I am a doctor. And I heard a little rattle in her chest. And then when Katie King came out of the cabinet, no rattle in the chest. Different people.
Uh-huh.
And he tried every test conceivable. Every test conceivable, except a few I can think of.
Like trapping a child in a cage.
Okay. So obviously, if you have half a brain, what you're thinking when you hear about manifestation is person goes into a cabinet, other people come out of the cabinet. There's some other way that other human beings are coming out of this cabinet. There's a false wall. They were in there the whole time. There's some trick to this, right? Like other people are walking out of this cabinet. This is an actual person, not a ghost. She has a pulse. She has like pulmonary activity. So she's walking out of this cabinet, right? And eventually, Doyle doesn't tell you this, but you look it up. She has to walk back into the cabinet to disappear, right? Or sometimes she'll disappear in front of them. And that seems like it's compelling evidence until you learn more about how these things are actually conducted. This is why I'm telling this story. So ectoplasm is what she's made of. And ectoplasm is the stuff of the other side. We talked about that last episode.
Mm-hmm.
And ectoplasm reacts negatively to light.
Okay.
So strong light will make the ectoplasm fall apart. So if you want to have psychic manifestations, it's got to be kind of dark. I want you to get a real good look at anything.
Okay.
And you'll hear descriptions of people seeing the ectoplasm form from the floor. And then like it'll slowly come up, and it's like literally it's like somebody with a sheet over their head slowly standing up. But in the low light, it's spooky. And
somebody has like moved a floorboard and is crawling.
Yeah, there's like a floorboard. So it looks like they're coming out of somewhere that they should be flat on the floor, and they're coming up from below somehow. And there will be people who investigate for trapdoors and stuff, and they can't find anything. And again, we fall back into the circular logic of like, well, just because I can't tell you how the trick was done doesn't mean there wasn't a trick. Like I could watch a magic show. I could watch Houdini. I could watch David Blaine. I don't know how he made the fucking Statue of Liberty disappear, but I know it didn't disappear.
Yeah, because you turn around, it's still there.
Yeah, like I know when an illusionist is tricking me, and I can't tell you how they're tricking me, but I went there to be tricked.
Yeah.
And so like, I guess that's my thing is the burden is not on me to tell you how the trick is performed. The burden is on you to prove to me that this is a ghost.
Yeah.
And what would prove to me that this was a ghost is if Katie King didn't go back into the cabinet.
Yeah.
Sit there until you dissolve. Just sit there. Doesn't have to be a cage. My initial thought was a cage because I thought you might resist. But there's a second option. You don't want to wait that long? Let's shoot you.
Whoa, now.
No, hear me out. It's only a problem if you're lying to me. I shoot you, right?
Benjamin.
You're going to turn back into ectoplasm.
How about you just turn the lights on?
They did turn the lights on. She was able to endure it because she's a real fucking person.
Yeah, exactly. So
but,
why even have the whole statement of like the light will dissolve them?
Because they
one. No, I think we're good.
So if you want my theory on that, the reason is that they had to test it out a little bit, these girls. They were like, well, I don't want to turn the light on because then he's going to know it's like fake, right?
And they turned the light on anyway and were like, I'm still totally convinced.
No, Crooks eventually asks. So this is why I say he's like the most naive man ever born. He eventually asks Katie King, would it be okay if I turn the light on? Because he's trying to approach this from a place of good faith. Like he's heard that if you come at it with the wrong vibes, if you try to trick or whatever, you're going to get bad results. So he's trying to do things the way they tell him to do it. And so he asks, could I turn on the lights? And I think Katie makes the informed decision that this guy's just going to believe whatever. I mean, I think she was probably really nervous about the pulse. And then when he took the pulse and was like,
fascinating.
Wow, you're really not the same person.
Oh my God.
She was probably
incredible.
Like, yeah, you could turn on the light.
It's like, here's an apple. It's made out of bread. He'll buy it.
My thought was, because it would be funny, is let me shoot you. You're made of ectoplasm. You'll dissolve. You'll come back tomorrow night. Unless, of course, you're not, in which case you might not want to be shot. But if you don't want to murder a child, because this is obviously a child, what if we just, can I take a sample of your blood? We take a vial of blood. Will it dissolve? It should dissolve back into ectoplasm, right?
I mean, maybe.
Hair, and that's the thing. The hair didn't dissolve back into ectoplasm. And the blood's not going to dissolve back into ectoplasm, and you're just going to come up with another reason why the blood didn't dissolve. So let me shoot you.
No.
It's only murder if she's lying. And the reason everybody's screaming, and I would say to the whole audience of my seance, the only reason y'all don't want me to shoot this person is because you know it's a person. I think I'm a scientist and my work is done here.
Thank you. Good day.
So there are multiple instances in the book of mediums who are exposed. when somebody does just run over and turn on the lights and catches the medium in the middle of faking shit. There's another time where somebody, like a ghostly hand, descends and starts writing, and somebody just grabs the hand, and it's a plastic hand. And because that's the thing, like, he'll tell you about all these experiences, and you're like, wow, this is really big if true. I'm surprised so many people don't believe in spiritualism if you're able to conjure ghost hands, and like, your mind is imagining an ethereal, glowing blue hand, well articulated, and just, you're just watching it write like a normal hand, and you're like, oh my God.
And it's really just a plastic hand being lowered on like a fishing hook.
Really just, you're in a darkened room, good and freaked out, and something that looks kind of like a hand descends, scribbles something. You can't get a great look at it. Everybody will always tell you this recurring thing. There was enough light to read by, or there was enough light to clearly make out the features of the other people. Well, okay, that's not a lot of light. Like, let's be real.
Yeah, that's not a lot of light, but at the same time, if you say it's enough light to read by, how are you not able to read the paper that it was written on?
Well, they read the paper and there's stuff on it. Now, there's a lot of, the thing with the automatic writing is there's a million ways to do this trick. Houdini demonstrates a million ways to do this trick. And he'll go on and on about how there's knowledge they couldn't have known. We do that a lot. They'll answer questions meaningfully. They'll answer things that there's no way they could have known. But then he'll also, like, just occasionally in like one sentence, like, also sometimes they got a lot of stuff wrong. But when they got it right, and it's like, yeah, you know, if you just throw crap out there, and we also aren't hearing, like, how much did you fill in? Like, if I say there's somebody trying to contact you and they have a message about something important they wanted to tell you before they died, I think it related to your business. Are you going to jump in and say, oh yeah, the Patterson account? Yes, it's the Patterson account. He wanted to tell you that there's something he feels is unfinished with the Patterson account. And it's like, and then are you going to fill in all that information? And so that's the thing, like, and Doyle will keep, and the book just goes on and on and on about back and forth, like, this fancy smart guy was convinced and this fancy smart guy said it was bullshit, and this fancy smart guy was convinced and this fancy smart guy said it was bullshit. And Doyle will be like, he does drop chapter after chapter. Well, if this doesn't convince you, then you must just be saying that all of these people were tricked.
Correct.
And I'm like, yeah.
That is correct.
That's what I'm saying. You would not survive the internet in 2025, Doyle. They would eviscerate you.
Oh my God. Imagine if they believed all the creepypastas that popped up when we were kids.
Well, I'm just thinking, like, what would Doyle, like, Doyle is like living in this world where it's like, this is a gentleman of fine reputation. Are you going to call him a liar? And it's like, I called Elon Musk a cauliflower-dicked piece of shit on my podcast 2 weeks ago.
Well, he's not on fine reputation.
No, but he is rich, and that's probably what that means. It's like, yeah, Doyle, I'm going to call, yeah, this isn't convincing. No amount, just pretend testimony is not convincing. Just pretend I don't care what anyone heard. Pretend I don't care what anyone wrote, and I don't care what language anyone spoke. Can you show me anything that proves there's a spirit? And also, just, this wouldn't be convincing scientific evidence, but it would at least make for a better book. Do the spirits have anything interesting to say?
Anything at all.
Anything. I'm begging you. Because this whole book is just about proving they're talking to us. But I don't know why I should listen.
Because so far, they can't get their names right. They can't get their information right. Sometimes they're fucking with you. Sometimes they're just not good at telling you what they're supposed to be telling you. Like, what? It's like I would have better luck trying to get details out of a 3-year-old who's really excited.
So this is the other thing. This is going to come up more in the next episode, and we are kind of nearing the end here. But people are going to start to question not so much that these strange things are happening, but that they are what you say they are. So let's say, for example, I believe, I witnessed it, and I buy that the table levitated. I think you just have psychic powers. I think you did that with telekinesis. I don't think it was a ghost.
Oh, that's even worse.
I think it was telekinesis. Or I don't think a ghost is talking to you. I think you're reading my mind. And this is where we get into, and this is going to be the problem with a lot of the ghost stuff. What do we actually know? What have we actually experienced? Let's assume everything you say is true, Doyle. Let's assume that, or let's assume that everything you've witnessed was not a trick. Does it prove that we're talking to our dead loved ones? No. At best, it proves we're talking to something.
Yeah.
At worst, it proves that there's some other supernatural force at work that can account for the knocking. Like, you know, they'll say, like, certain ghost hunter types will say that there's poltergeist activity that tends to occur around pubescent girls because their emotions swing so very wildly.
Yeah.
And that manifests some psychic force. And there's no ghost there. It's just the force of human emotion.
Yeah.
Raw and untamed. And okay, well, what if that's the case, Doyle? You know, what if it's just human psychic power? He struggles a bit with that one. Because he doesn't really have a good answer. He'll just point to like the quality of the information, or like he'll go back. The
quality of the information is terrible.
That's a challenge he never quite overcomes. But he'll say like, well, he'll fall back on the prejudice. Then he's like, how could a peasant girl speak French? Arabic? Where would she ever have learned Arabic?
I mean, I'm sure after a while anybody could pick up a language.
Well, here's the other question I would have is like, really, how long and in how much detail did we speak in Arabic?
Yeah. Like, did you just learn how to say, like, hello, how are you? My name is...
Yeah, like, did you learn a few key phrases? Did you
learn how to say, like, my love or my friend?
Is there somebody behind you whispering to you what to say? Like, I can think of a lot of ways. I guess that's my thing, is if you don't underestimate the people you're dealing with, there's a lot of ways they could trick you. So that's why I say, like, Doyle, actually, what if you assume that that unread farmer is much, much smarter than you?
Like, he might not be textbook smart, but he is a very intelligent person. You're just looking at him and saying, oh, you look and smell like cow pie, so you must be an idiot.
Yeah, and I guess that's my thing, because when I look at magicians, I don't necessarily think they're as good at math as me.
No, but I think they are far more dexterous than I am.
Yeah, but they're definitely going to be able to do something that I can't explain how they did it.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, we're gonna go back and forth on this. In volume 2, he does continue to just tell stories of mediums who do various kinds of readings, impress various fancy people, more scientists who are not impressed, who he thinks are charlatans. We'll go into all of that. But in volume 2, we also get a little bit of a deep dive on what he believes ectoplasm is and what its powers are. The one you'll enjoy, spirit photography. unimpeachable evidence of the paranormal. And paraffin wax molds of ectoplasmic beings.
Oh, of ectoplasmic beings, you say?
No, so here's the thing they came up with. I'm gonna dip. Okay, so Katie King, she's an ectoplasmic being, right? So she dips her hand in paraffin wax, and then it forms a glove around her hand like wax does.
Yeah.
Then she dissolves because she's made of ectoplasm. The glove remains, and there's a wrist hole that no hand could have gotten out of without breaking the glove. How do you explain that? And my question to him is sort of like, Doyle, I've been here for like 450 pages now. This please tell me this isn't the best you got.
Literally, you can have this very thing done at the Renaissance Fair, or maybe even, at your local mall, if that's a thing they have. Get wax molds of your hands, because it's a fun decoration you can do.
It's very unconvincing. But he does eventually get into where I think the interesting thing is at the very, very end, and we'll get into this next time, he does get into the religion of spiritualism, the beliefs about the afterlife of spiritualism, how it compares and contrasts with other religions, and how the relationship with the church affects it. So we'll finish this off. I am aware at this point, I will say, that The History of Spiritualism by Arthur Conan Doyle is not the best representation of its belief system.
No.
But I will say when he gets into the religion stuff, he does begin to answer some of my questions about ghost hunting and Christianity.
I feel like the funny thing is I feel like those are the easier questions to answer.
They're the only questions I really cared about. I don't really care about whether Bob's stock options came back good based on his psychic reading. I don't care about any of this. And Doyle will constantly tell me I shouldn't care about any of this, that I should be worried about the higher mysteries of spiritualism and everything. And I'm like, well, then what are they, dude? Are you going to get to them at some point? And the answer is no, not really. But we'll get to eventually like what the afterlife looks like. And maybe we reincarnate. Or maybe some of us do.
Oh boy.
If you feel like it.
Okay.
Yeah. I ain't coming back, but So
maybe.
Yeah. That has been this episode of Words About Occult Books, the Hydesville Incident. Some knocking happened, and then they said that they did it with their toes, and it kind of killed a religious movement.
Woo.
Probably didn't need to take an hour to say that. Interesting thing about this series on Words About Books, I've been thinking about this. So we will be going back to a Words About Books Sunday episode, talking about Tolkien Wednesday episode. I'm thinking Words About Occult Books is going to come out semi-regularly on Fridays. This series is going to be a kind of, as we can get to it, it requires a lot more reading and research than other series. It's not easy to track down newspapers to figure out what Doyle is being honest about and what he is not. I had to read almost as much outside of this book as I read in this book to get even the little bit that we have discussed out here. So we'll see how often we can get these out, but we'll shoot for like every 2 weeks at the very least. Yeah. Anything you would like to say, Tanisha?
If you find yourself in the Harrisburg area in Pennsylvania, there is a comedy improv theater that is tucked away in North 3rd or South 3rd Street somewhere in Harrisburg. It's called the Harrisburg Improv Theater. You should come out Friday, Saturday from 7 to 9 p.m.
Fair enough. Plug your material. All right. Well, then we will see you next time.
Bye-bye.